Geraldine Jordan-McClure. I married a McClure. I'm a Jordan. Reverend Shepherd Jordan, daughter.
Where were you born?
May 29. Well, I was born in Lonsdale on Dakota Avenue. My father pastored Friendship Baptist Church until my grandfather had this church built. Isom Smith, his name's out here on the church. He pastored this church after Reverend Foster died. This church was up on the hill over here, and they moved it down here on Oakland. There wasn't no houses over here. But my grandfather bought all 5 acres in here and had this church built. I can't remember what year, but he pastored 32 years out here at this church. And I was baptized down here in the creek. We didn't have a baptizing pool. And I had brothers and sisters, but they wasn't a member of this church. They passed away very young.
Where did you go to school?
Up here to Oakland School. And then they transferred me to the 7 Days Adventist School on University Avenue in Mechanicsville. And Reverend Sharp's daughter used to take me in the car every morning and come back and get me every evening, because he was pastor of the church up at the Methodist Church. We didn't have but 2 churches out here. My mother, Marie Jordan, she was a Smith. My grandfather was a Smith, Isom Smith. That was her daddy. And he was the one that gave the property for this church. I've been here all my life, yeah. I wasn't even school age. They built around this to make the church, because the church was up on the hill. The cemetery is up there now. They call the Band of Mercy. The AME Zion. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Reverend Sharps was pastor up there. He's dead.
Who is Isom Smith?
That's my grandfather. He worked at the L&N Railroad Station.
Did he work there his whole life?
As far as I know, he did. Mm-hmm.
Where did your father work all his life?
What, his father?
Your father?
Oh, Shepherd Jordan. He was the pastor of this church 32 years. My father was at Fawcett's Chapel, not the AME Zion.
Yeah.
Not the AME Zion. We used to go up there and have meetings up there with them. And also the church in Oak Grove, AME Zion. We used to go up there and have meetings with them. What community? This is Oakland community. And Oak Grove is in above here. And AME Zion is up here on the corner. Well, we used to sing at all these churches. We sing at all these churches. Well, I can tell you about the community now. Because we didn't have street lights out here. We had dirt roads. And then we had the parishes. They lived down on the corner very corner down here at the railroad station. Oh, he used to farm all of that up through there in the front of this church, all the way down to the creek. He used to farm. And that way he had corn, pumpkins, and all that stuff. And then after my dad started preaching here, then he had horse and buggy. We didn't have well, we didn't have water out here. We had springs. We had one spring over here and one spring down here by the railroad. My father used to haul water for all the neighbors up here in Oakland with his horse and buggy and get barrels of water from those springs for all the neighbors up here in Oakland. So I can tell you the whole details.
Tell me
I
whatever
can
you
tell
want
you
to
the whole details of it. And and they would pay him. I can't remember just how much they would pay him, but he would haul water, barrels of water from the spring. And when they got the spring up here, then we children used to take our buckets and go up here to the spring and get water for the home down here. No, just for our home. We'd get water from the spring up here, because there wasn't no houses up through there. Nothing but a spring up there. So after we'd get our water, then my daddy would haul water from the spring down here at the railroad for the neighbors up here in Oakland. And of course, we had 3 liquor joints out here. But anyway, then after I got school age, I went to school up here at Oakland School. We had a fish pond up there. And it's a playground up there now. And then I went to 7 Days Adventist school until I learned to ride the bus. We had streetcars. We didn't have buses out here. We had streetcars, And after I learned to ride the bus, then I would ride the bus from University back out here, then I would walk from Smithwood up here. Because we didn't have no transportation then. So after I left the school up there, then I joined under my daddy at this church and was baptized down here in the creek, because we didn't have a baptizing pool. And we didn't have lights in the church. We had lanterns around the church. And the choir members would sing and walk around that stove. So that's the way we started out. The church was funded under Reverend Foster. They named the church after him. It was over here on the other road up on the hill. And then my grandfather gave the property for this church, because he had 5 acres in here. And up the road, where this house is right over here, that was a trash pile. Everybody from Fountain City would bring trash and throw it in the trash pile over here, because we didn't have streets. We didn't have street lights. And it was trees, it'd be black dark going up through here. But anyway, we had a time. Then after I was baptized, then started singing in the choir here. And then my mother and I went to a chorus and started singing with the spiritual harmonies. We used to go all out of town singing. And then after my father died, then they got Reverend Matthews. Then after Reverend Matthews, they got Reverend McGee. And then Reverend McGee has died. We got Reverend Talbert now. But that's the way the church went. Oh, Lord, I can't remember who all. I've got a book at the house with every member of the church.
Were there a lot of people in the congregation?
Yeah, it was quite a few members, yeah. We had quite a few deacons, Reverend Tom and Reverend White, and Brother White and Brother Kenner. We had plenty of deacons. If I'm not mistaken, that was in 87.
Or what?
87, the year of 87. What, in the church, I was secretary of the mission, the Rosanna Jones Mission.
What was that?
The Rosanna Jones Mission. Then after Mrs. Jones died, then Margaret Crawford, she was over the mission. And that was in the year of 87. We call it, the first mission was Rosanna Jones Mission. And the other one is Miss Crawford's, Fawcett's Chapel. Miss Crawford, she was the head of the mission. What I did, I took minutes. I took minutes of every meeting that we had. She's got the book here. I brought the book, but took minutes of every meeting that we had, and every church we met, every preacher that we've had on different Sundays and all of that.
Did you enjoy doing that? Did you enjoy doing that?
Who, me? Oh yeah, I was secretary. I had to take all minutes. I had to take all minutes of the church. I could tell you the whole thing about Oakland now. Well, about Oakland now, we had 3 liquor joints out here. We had a trash pile out here. And of course, I told you about the water and all of that we had out here. And Maddie Molden was the mother of the church of Fawcett's Chapel. Maddie Molden. And Elizabeth Hall, Maddie Molden used to come and ring the bell every Sunday. And of course, her daughter, Elizabeth Hall, she used to, she was over something other of the church, but she seen that everything went the way it's supposed to go of the church. And we had entertainments and, just a little of everything.
What kind of entertainment?
Well, that's cooking out and different things like that. And we had at the old church, we didn't have inside commodes, We had outside toilets, one toilet for the men's and one toilet for the ladies. And we used to, we've had fun out of it, but there used to be a man come over here. We didn't have street lights and none, but he would come over here and get in those toilets, and he would cuss those toilets out. So, it's been a long time, but it's been a lot going on. The different people that lived out here, the Woodses, the Halls, and McFarlands, and just different ones out here, and the Sharps, and all of us out here. My mother and my daddy first pastored Friendship Baptist Church on Texas Avenue in Lonsdale. Then my grandfather asked him to ordain my father to preach out here. So then after they moved from Lonsdale, 'cause I was already out here with my grandfather. I wasn't even school age. And they moved out here. Then that's when they started there's no houses through here. All this was garden. And I could tell you a whole lot about it. That was when I was young. Yeah, me and one of the ladies, she's a member of this church, but she's dead too. And her name's the Mitchells. And this Mr. Parrish, his house was the only one down there. Now the only way we got to go to town, the railroad down here, they had a station down there. We could go down there and catch the train and go to town. So after that, then he would make garden all up through here, all in the front of this church, that field over there, where all them houses is now. All of that was his field, all the way down to the railroad. And he had horses, and he'd plant pumpkins and all kinds of stuff in there. Me and this girl, we would go. We had hogs, we had cows, and 'cause we had 5 acres in here, and we would go up there. This is funny now. We would go up there and we would get the man's pumpkins out of his garden, or his corn, and we had some big fat hogs. But my mother, she would stand out here on the dirt road, and she'd see him coming up the road, clump, 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 with the bug, and she'd start laughing out, just falling out laughing. We know to run. 'Cause we were done throwed pumpkins and stuff all down here on the road, you know. And we hollered down there and have fat hogs and chickens and things, you know. That was just the fun part of it now. But and then my grandfather had a house built. After we made garden out of all of this property, then he had one house built, and this girl that we run around with, she got married and moved in that house there. Then her mother came. They called her Mother Smith. She was the mother of Fawcett's Chapel. And they moved over on the other road with her. And that's the way Oakland started building up. But there wasn't no houses up through here, period. And I think about the first, second house, I think Pat Harris, Miss Harris, they moved in one of those houses. Then they moved out. And then Oakland started building up. But all the people really lived over in Oakland and up on the hill. But anyway, after the church was built over here, then the mission that I was in, we had the first phone put in this church. It was in the year of '87 when we had the phone put in. And then we started taking baskets and things to the nursing homes and just different hospitals. And so that's the way Reverend McGee, he was pastor after my daddy. And now he's passed away. And we got Reverend Talbert now. And we moved up here on Alt Road is where our church is now. This is the old church, but Reverend McGee had it so that this church cannot be sold. This church will always be here. It won't be sold. Yeah, we over here, there's a house right over here. That used to be our trash pile. Everybody would bring their trash from Fountain City over here and dump. No street light, all these were trees up through here, and it was dark at night. And you seemed like you could hear people walking on cans and everything in the trash pile. And then my son, he lives up there in the next house, right up here on the corner. That was a liquor joint. They called a wagon wheel. People would go there and buy their liquor. And then over on the corner, over there, there was another liquor joint. They sold liquor over there. And of course, up on the corner, way up on the corner up there, was Bucks. Back then, they called them plunkalunks, but they were, you put nickels in and play records, and you go up there and dance up there on the corner. But I don't know, I could tell you the whole details. But anyway, and then one of the men, they got drunk. Some white men went down here to the train station at the railroad. They had a train station. I don't know what they were doing, but I know they were drinking. And one of them shot his nose off. And he was the funniest looking man that I have ever seen, going around with just two holes in his face and not no nose. They shot his nose off. They called him Dan Woods. Oh, well, that's enough. I can tell you all of it.
That's great.
But we've had a time out here. Yeah, I've been out here all my life. I wasn't even school age.